right, Chris, thanks so much for being back. And guys, welcome back to the BI Academy channel. This is the breakdown. And of course, I got Chris Kirkpatrick back with me here to shed some light on all things private banking, economics, and of course, some travel is what I would call it, right? Because if
Sure.
you see his background, he's still out there in the Dominican Republic. He's moved. I don't think we're going to be able to convince him to come back to
Nope.
to the
I
good
ain't
old
coming back
United States
anytime soon, y'all.
anytime soon.
Nah, this is too funny.
So man, I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, and there's been a lot going on at home, as you can imagine. We got an election year coming up. Is there any elections going on inside your area?
Dude, they just had it like May 13th. This week, Monday was the election of the president,
What was it?
and
Okay, the president of the
yeah,
Dominican.
the
So
big one, the big one. The last couple
does
months has been absolute like chaos around here in the streets. They do all these like political rallies that are absolutely
uh,
insane. Their political rallies around here, in the Dominican Republic where I am, is it's like a party. It's weird. Completely different than the United States.
like
There's
Mardi
no
Gras type of?
yeah, like crazy. It's weird. Life is a party in the DR. That's all I could tell you. Like that's what they do. They just
They don't care. They don't care who
everything
win. Party. They
everything's
don't.
about
They don't.
celebration.
It don't. It doesn't
Exactly.
matter who wins. We just wanna. We just wanna. We have
Hmm.
a even bigger festival if the right person wins. Okay.
Oh,
Is it established to where they have like congressional type bodies or
yeah,
parliaments, and so
yeah.
it is a democracy, so to
The
speak, right?
Dominican Republic is the most United States like government in Central America and the Caribbean and South America for that matter. South America,
All right.
Central America, so Latin America basically. It's the most
Mhm.
democratic
Now, what did you have
Americanized
to do to
government.
go through? Have you already voted? Are you registered to vote, or what are
No,
the
no,
requirements for you to be able to do it?
I'm not gonna be able to vote until I get citizenship, which is a big process. First, you got to go through residency, then you got to get citizenship, and it's a whole process.
Got it. So what you doing, privatized banking, cash flow life
Mhm.
insurance,
Yep,
other people call it infinite banking.
sure.
What you doing that the funds that you pay in premium,
Hmm.
because your business is US based, right? If I'm correct from the last time we spoke,
Hmm.
you just take and electronically have those funds sent to the insurance company, and if you want to take a loan, they electronically send that back to a US
Yeah,
bank account. Like how does it affect you now that you're no
I
longer
mean,
inside the states?
I'm, I'm not trying to get away from like the financial system in the U.S. Like a lot of people move out of the country trying to, you know, kind of not evade, but get the workaround around the taxes and all
Yeah,
that stuff. I'm not trying to do that. I've got my companies, I've got my businesses that are based in the United States. It would be really, really challenging for me to get my entire life out of the United States from a business
I
perspective.
guess more
So
so is like how does, because you're dealing with a different currency though, right? You're not dealing with the US dollar in Dominican Republic.
yeah, so there's a couple things. Like I've got my business in the United States, like Life 180, my insurance agency. We have the fund. I've got a marketing agency. I've got a couple different businesses that I have in the United States that um, I have business partners with. So to move those companies out of the U.S. would just be, it's not even a doable thing for me. Then what I can do though is like I have a new business down here. Like we have a hotel, right? And so this hotel is Dominican based, right? And part of the hotel is owned by the fund, and so the fund shares have to flow back through the U.S. entity, and the non-fund shares don't. They stay here in the Dominican. So, there's some benefit. It's not as much. Like there are definitely better countries to move to than the DR as far as tax benefits and expatriation benefits from the United States. But for me, there was a lot of other factors that came into the equation. And I'm like I said, I didn't make this move to get out of like the taxes and the or like the banking and all that stuff. I got out of it I got here because I just wanted the opportunity, the growth in the DR, the investment opportunity, and then honestly just the culture and the land and getting into nature and getting out of the suburbia and you know, being able to do what we're doing, and I'm able to still connect and make all my content and do interviews with people like you. And like, I travel and I do speaking, and I've already been to Miami a couple times since I've been here, back and forth, meet my business partners there. And I'm going to Caleb's event in June, in Denver, and I'm doing these different things, like I'm going to play the World Series of Poker again this year. So I'm still like traveling. This is just home base, and like my kids, it's the big reason is just get my kids out of the chaos and out of all the indoctrination in the schools and all that kind of stuff, and really just expose them to nature and expose them to, like, you know childhood in the way that I kind of was brought up in the backwoods of Vermont. Is just like giving them an opportunity to connect with nature, disconnect from
Oh, that's
devices.
crazy. Your personality matches a teacher I had who was from Vermont.
No, no way.
A lot, yeah, a lot of you not. And he
That's awesome.
constantly, yeah, he used to always talk about how he was from Vermont and the area he was from. He's like, there's nobody out there, or whatever the case is. But like,
Yeah,
he was a very, I can't remember his name right now, but he was very. I mean, you guys eerily resemble each other. He's very laid back, nonchalant, and didn't want to be too involved, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah.
he's social. He was social, and oddly enough, he taught social studies, but he was not an overly social person. Like, he
Mm,
was very I wouldn't even say conservative, but he was reserved in his personality.
mm,
So it's interesting the similarities that you guys have. You can kind of tell, like he would mention, just make certain comments like the difference in how we would interact, being that we grew up inside of an inner city
yeah,
versus where he was from, and he found a lot of things we would do and say and stuff like that odd.
yeah.
So I can imagine the culture there is more there, even though you're out of the United States, it's probably way more similar to what you experienced and what you would be comfortable with versus the because America now is like a corporation more so than a
Mm,
country, and it's everything is like an agenda or something, right? It's never just live and
that
let
makes
live, right? It's never live and let live. It's
Yeah,
it's always some kind of catch 22, if you would.
sure.
So what you have in your own banking system through whole life insurance though, if you need access to liquidity and you need that inside of the Dominican Republic's currency that they utilize versus the US dollar, how does that play a part?
That's easy. I mean, it's super simple because all I do is I take a policy loan in US dollars,
Hmm.
and then I just transfer it from my bank account in the US. I wire it to my bank account here, and I just got to manage the accounting of that, right? Like wherever it's going, and so my my US entity that I would take the loan from, from the policy, I could lend that money down to my Dominican entity if I want. I make a policy loan, and then
Okay. So it
there's
falls
all
on the bank that you do banking with inside of the
down here.
DR to make
Mm-hmm.
the conversion for you, and you don't have to sweat it. It's essentially
Yeah, yeah,
because
they just convert it.
they hold the dollars on their books. You get
Yeah,
what you need to handle business down there, liquidity wise.
yeah, for sure.
Okay, that was
Super easy.
my, because I was like, I'm not sure, like as far as like an American embassy, you tap into the
No,
foreign
no, no. I
exchange
haven't had to
market.
deal, dude. Nothing.
Okay,
I
okay.
live 3 hours away from like a big city, and
Exactly,
we're like,
exactly right. You were telling me right
so
before we
we're in
got
the
on,
jungle.
you was like,
Yeah.
you were like 2014 is when they actually got like full on electricity in a road,
Mm-hmm.
where you could go out there. So I'm thinking like, there's no way. How
No,
is this
it's
guy
crazy.
having access to cash? And then oddly enough too, is that you have to be in an area that is not the majority of people there are bankless or they're
Um,
underbanked, to say the least,
yeah,
maybe
they're
underbanked.
they're underbanked. They're but I mean, a lot of our employees at the hotel, I got 13 employees. None of them don't have bank accounts. Um,
Yeah, that's
you know,
That's where CBDC is going to play a major part, right?
Yeah, yeah, totally, man. I mean, and so it is what it is. I mean, you just got to deal with it, and that's, I think, more a function of the fact that we live in the jungle, and it's an old fishing village that didn't have a road until 2014, and so people are, just kind of moving here, and it progress is kind of coming here, and development is coming here. I could even argue it's not progress in some ways; it's going backwards. But like, um, you know, it is what it is. it's evolving and it's growing. That's where we saw the investment opportunity. They're building a coastal highway that's coming right through here that right now is just this little dirt path. It's going to be a coastal highway that's going to go right in front of our hotel. So that's why we bought the hotel now, because in the next 4 years, what was a dirt path and nobody could get to it is going to be a coastal highway, or right off a coastal highway, and be
It's gonna be a lot
full
of
of full of
attraction.
traffic. Yeah, a lot of
Yeah, it's gonna
traction, a
be
lot of exposure. Yeah,
so inside of an area that's severely underbanked,
yep.
not very technologically advanced. You
Mm-hmm.
have a system that a private banking system at that, not just you have access to a bank, you have a
Mm-hmm.
private banking system that you can utilize and leverage all this time. And it's also already pre-valued inside of the number one currency on the planet, being the
Yep.
dollar.
Yep.
Yeah, man, you fixed yourself up nicely. I just, in my head, I guess I'm painting a picture that, imagine if you would have moved down there prior to setting up the banking system that you have, you would be somewhat at a disadvantage, just like
Oh,
everybody else around you, versus
I mean,
the position you're in right now, right?
I wouldn't even be able to be here. Honestly, the only reason I was able to be here is because I was able to leverage my banking system and get a down payment on the hotel and like manage all these things and like lock up the deal and get down here and then raise some money to fill the deal in. But I needed to move fast. When I found out this deal was there was a bunch of people that were interested in it. There were literally 6 different people interested in this property. And the only reason I was
All
able
at
to
one
do it
time.
only reason I was able to do it is because I was able to get the money the fastest for the down payment and to get it here. I was able to do a policy loan immediately and then have that money wired. So within 6 days, I had the money like in the owner's account for the deposit. And then we
Mm.
went and we secured it, and then we launched a private equity fund and we raised the money to it, for the rest of it. But because of the fact that I was able to borrow against policy and leverage money, I had access to that capital, and I wasn't like going to just use banks in the way, and I was able to get them the amount that they wanted, because they wanted more than like the typical minimum down payment, to do it. And so because of the fact that I had that, I was able to do it.
Yeah, the advantage I'm hearing is that, I'm just thinking about in my head while you were talking, like, how long realistically would he have had to get those funds over if you went through the traditional banking system? Like, it probably would have took you at minimum 2 weeks to get those funds.
Yeah, I mean, it can take a while, and if there's no, yeah, I mean, the funds, the whole banking system here, no matter what, is frustrating. There's just no way around it. There's so many instances that are really frustrating. I've transferred money down here several times only to have it rejected because they think it's money laundering, and then you got to go back through
Yeah.
again and you got to prove it. And like, I get why, but it's a pain in the butt. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. That, and I'm thinking about, like, just period. He's over cutting up in the background, baby boy here.
I mean, here.
Hopefully. Oh, okay, yeah, and that's why I got the headset.
Mm-hmm.
It knocks out some noise there.
It's awesome.
The thought that I'm having though is that, even let's say you want to do the same deal inside the United States,
Mm-hmm.
it still increases the amount of time that it would take for you to to get the access to liquidity, because the bank is going to make you jump through hoops. Then you have to set up a payment process in
Oh,
terms of, like, how are you going to go about making those payments back to the bank, and so on and
yeah.
so forth. So I'm just comparing the deal itself, right? No matter the location, it's more difficult to do what you were
Yeah.
able to do through a traditional banking system versus doing it through your own private bank.
Well, I think it's just a question of how you're structured financially. I mean, if people had, somebody had a couple $100,000 sitting in a bank account, like a savings account, you could move that money and you could wire it and do all these things, and it'll be relatively quick. It would be probably equivalent, right? Like from a expediency kind of perspective. But what it wouldn't be is optimal as far as growth of our money and control of our money and all these things. Because if the thing we have to consider when we're doing any kind of real estate transaction is opportunity cost, because there's always that down payment that needs to be considered for any kind of deposit, any kind of you know down payment from a, like, are you putting 20% down, 30% down in the United States, which you can do, which we're down here in the DR. it's 100% cash. Like you can get financing, but it's like 20% interest, 18% interest. It's insane, right? So it's not even,
That's
nobody's
wild.
doing it. It's nobody's doing it. So what we're doing is we're looking at it being like, it was a cash deal. You had to have cash. And so because it's a cash deal, they expect more than 20% down. So we had to, the fact that we were able to do that, right? Having
Mhm.
the whole life policy and move it, I was able to do that without losing the opportunity cost on that cash. Because make no mistake about it, if I had to put 20% down, let's say I had to put $200,000 down on a property, right? If I had to do that at a cash out of a savings, well, now I lose the ability for that money to earn money, right? Like, so
Right.
everybody's like, I'm paying cash to avoid the interest. Well, but you are losing the ability for that money to earn interest as well, and so that opportunity cost is kind of recaptured. That's the whole purpose of the banking system. Is like you're not paying the bank. You're going to keep the growth of your money, and you're controlling that opportunity cost and the cost of capital. Like by taking a policy loan think about the value by taking a policy loan. I'm paying 5.5%, right? Whereas the cost of money down here is 18.9%. So the value of that, think about that. That's like crazy value. Crazy
And
value. The fact that I'm
that's
able to do
prepaid
that.
interest as well too. It's prepaid
Hmm.
interest, meaning that technically, kind of like a 0% interest credit card, if you were to pay that back before the renewal of your policy, I mean, you have a year, or well, however long you have from when you took the loan to the renewal month of the following year to get that
Hmm.
money back in there, and whatever interest you would pay back, you keep. So you actually you actually make money on the deal, pay no interest technically to the insurance company, versus you have to pay you have to pay that interest, either way it goes, if you went through the traditional form of banking that you just mentioned that they have set up down there.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely just a really optimal system as far as efficiency goes, as far as control of money goes, as far as cost of capital goes, as far as just liquidity and just having everything secured. The thing is, like, I did a live yesterday, and all these people were talking about like infinite banking and whatever for IUL, and
It's their favorite,
I got
man.
tagged actually. Yeah, I got tagged in this Facebook, the infinite banking, actually Chris Nagel's group, right? Like I got tagged, and somebody tagged me in it, like because somebody asked about IUL for infinite banking, and obviously everybody knows how I feel about that, and so I just was like, I started chiming in. And then, like, all the things people were saying about it were just so outlandish about why IUL can work for infinite banking, and I'm just like, it's so absurd, And
Yeah.
so then I did this live just to kind of respond to it, and it made me realize like a lot of things, because I really started thinking about like, why do people think that it can work, and then what are we really trying to do, with infinite banking, and when I think about what I'm doing here, and the principles that we're utilizing and implementing in our life to get here. Infinite banking is not like the secret strategy that the wealthy use to create wealth. It's the secret strategy they use to preserve their wealth, to protect their wealth, to backstop their wealth, and to transfer their wealth to the next generation on a guaranteed basis. And it creates a filter that you can run through and make your decisions through, right? Like I mean, and Nelson Nash always used to say, the more cash value I have in my life insurance policies, the more opportunity seems to have a way of tracking me down, right? And so it's so true. Like this opportunity is a dream opportunity that when you look, I can't tell you how many people that have seen what I'm doing down here and been down here and looked at it being like, you were able to get this for how little? You know what I mean? And like the only reason I was because I had cash and access in my banking system to be able to make it happen. You know what I mean? And
And
then now, but
you have
then on
the
top of that, yeah, and
the
then
knowledge, yeah.
I had the knowledge, but the thing is, my banking system isn't going to create the wealth. The banking system created the opportunity for me to then take my knowledge and then create the wealth through the investment of the hotel and the fund and like all the different things that I'm doing, right? And so I'm not creating wealth with the policy. The policy created the opportunity for me to use my gifts and skills and abilities to create the wealth, right?
Yeah.
Now, and that's why the policy is just a filter allowing me to go, hey, can I even pull this off, right? And if it were 3-4 years ago, the answer would have been no. I wouldn't have had enough in my policy, but now I did, and so bang, here we go, right? Opportunity tracked me down. I executed. I didn't hesitate. I went for it. And guess what? I've had to learn a lot along the way. I've
Oh
I've
yeah.
I've stretched myself. It's been crazy, but it's been awesome and it's so worth it. Um, and I'll tell you, like I can't imagine doing it differently. Now I'm able to recapitalize my policy. I'm able to increase my collateral capacity inside of the policy, and I think as time goes here, it's just going to get better and better and better.
Yeah, it's interesting from what you were saying too, because some people they just don't view it the right way. Like you can take a tire off with a manual star wrench, right?
Sure.
And you can also use at a powered gun, right? An impact gun. So it's
Yep.
like what people don't understand is that we're simply trying to take the tire off with the least amount of effort possible. And
Mm,
that is what it is. Banking is something that you're already doing. You're trying
yep.
to change how you do it so that it's more efficient, right?
Sure.
With an IUL, in my opinion, with the moment you introduce market volatility, it's no longer about banking anyways,
Yep.
right? Because now you introduce brokerage fees. You have a floor. A floor is
Yeah.
only necessary to protect you from what? From risk, right?
Yep.
Well, when you have a regular paycheck, the only reason why you let your regular paycheck go to your bank prior
Hmm.
to doing anything else with it is for usage purposes. Is
Sure.
if you knew that I'd taken a substantial risk, which you do, we don't think about it that way, but we actually do. Banks fail, and we're going to see more and more bank failures moving into the future. But
Mm,
let's go off of what how the traditional person is thinking. I put my money inside of this checking or savings account because when I go check my balance, it's always going to be the same, and I can draw on that whenever I need to, right?
yeah, it's
Well,
predictable.
an IUL doesn't work that way at all.
No,
You put your
not at
money
all.
in there. You cannot just go draw on this whenever you get good and ready. And
Hmm.
there's surrender charges, there's fees. It doesn't. So even though you could look at it and it says the same thing necessarily, what about all these fees? Those are just being subtracted from future value. So it's like to me, if you want to compare, I think it just has the wrong comparison. Like if they just stop saying infinite banking and say like a better version of a 401k, I'm all on board. I think that if you came and said, hey, you want an IUL or 401k, you got a much better chance to get. I don't want either one. Let's be real. But you have a much better chance of selling me an IUL than you do a 401k plan or an IRA or something like that. Well, a self-directed IRA, I don't know. I kind of might like that better than an IUL because I can kind
For
of
sure.
manage it myself. But an IUL to me, just take the basic 401k plan.
Yep.
It's a better version of a 401k. You have some protections there. You
Yep.
have the market volatility, upside potential, with minimal to no downside risk. But to me, like even then, I want to say that, but is it true?
No, it's
Because
not true at all.
if the
I
market
will
goes
fail all the time.
but if the market doesn't go up and you're getting fees charged to you, the guarantees that you did have has been canceled out by the fees. And
Hmm.
so it's like the times that the market doesn't go up, you don't just not make money. On paper, you lose.
Yeah.
You're losing in
Hmm.
those years. And then their rebuttal is, well, you'll have years where the market performs great and
Yeah.
it makes up for that time. Well, here's the thing,
Yeah.
opportunity cost is that the same amount of time put somewhere where it could have linear growth. I don't care
Yeah.
if you're talking about a certificate deposit account, it would have outperformed in a basic certificate deposit account or buying treasury bonds or something
Yeah.
like that versus you putting it inside the IUL. If the IUL does, if it doesn't perform for 3, 4, or 5 out of the 10 years that you had it in there. So it's like I don't see honestly, I'm confused about the comparison. I don't get it. I think it's pretty cut and dry, guaranteed versus non-guaranteed. Um,
Yeah.
I just think that if you're thinking about a banking system or like savings, Where
That
in there do you
that's
where
not what
in
they're
there do
doing.
you want?
That's not what they're doing though. Agents that think infinite banking is good with IUL are the agents that believe that the only part of infinite banking that matters is the potential to earn a positive spread, borrow against the policy and earn a positive spread on the loan. That's what they think it is. And so it's obvious anybody that's selling IUL as infinite banking and doing it with any level of like belief that they think they're doing the right thing has never read Nelson Ash's book, has
So you're
never.
saying that they're only looking at the three components: premium, death benefit, and cash value. Because it matches the same components of whole life, it has to be that you can do it with IUL too. Except here's the thing:
Not
an
only that,
IUL has market volatility that can get you all this extra money, so it's better than whole life because
yeah,
whole
yeah,
life can't give you the extra market
yeah.
vol. Okay,
The
yeah,
reasons that they say it works are the reasons it doesn't work, ironically, and so
that's the crazy that's the craziest thing about it, right? And the thing about and to me, if the product wasn't misrepresented,
hmm
I'm not going to. I won't. Well, let me not go as far as to say I would own one. But if the product wasn't so misrepresented, I wouldn't. I don't think anybody would have a bone to pick with it. To be honest, I know I wouldn't. I wouldn't care if you were
yeah,
like, hey, this is the better version of a retirement plan. I would agree. I would agree. It's a better
yeah.
version. Now if you're saying
I wouldn't, but
now, here's why I wouldn't agree. If you said that it was a better way for you to retire than if you had a guaranteed whole life policy with paid dividends and was set up for cash, I would disagree because I've seen enough illustrations to know that I
well,
don't care. I don't care how well the market does. It's never going to go up 40, 50 years in a row. There's going to be some
no,
downsides in there, and I will fare out better than you on a linear projection because I'm going to have access to liquidity the whole
totally,
entire time. And I'm going to also, so I can go chase gains just as well as you because I have access to liquidity. And then beyond that, I would argue that because of my guarantees, after
yeah.
20, 30, 40 years of those guarantees plus the dividend, I'm going to fare out way better than you. So I think that it's not a better retirement vehicle. That's why I said I would never own a 401k or IUL because I feel like this I have policies already now structured for my retirement. So it's like
Mm.
I don't see the purpose of it. But if you were saying this is better than a 401, this is better than your 401k, yeah, go sell it all day long. Go ahead. Because I agree. I think it's better than
Do
people's
you?
401ks. I agree.
I
I agree.
disagree. I disagree with you. I disagree with you. And the reason I disagree with you is
I need
because
to yeah. Let me know why. Let me know
the
why,
reason I
please.
disagree with you is because like I can put my money in a 401k and at least I know some money's going to be there. Taxes could go up. I don't have control of it. I have all these things that you know come into the equation. But at least when I put money in, if I get a match and whatever, then I'm going to have 100% rate of return on the match right out of the gate, and then that'll mitigate some of the taxation risk. And like there's elements of this and the market fluctuation, market volatility risk, sequence of return risk, all these different things. Don't forget, like 401ks are not distribution vehicles like in retirement. They're accumulation vehicles. Nobody's ever going to keep their money in a 401k after they retire. You get it out of there. So these are accumulation vehicles while you're working. They're not great.
Yeah,
Don't I'm not
yeah,
sitting here saying I love 401ks. If you ever watch my
yeah.
content, I don't like them. But compared to an IUL, what you do when you put your money into an IUL is you're transferring all the risks that you're trying to get away from in the government, and you're putting that risk on the insurance company. And so when you buy a policy with a participating mutually held company with a whole life policy, you are becoming a partner with that company, and you are going to be successful as long as that company is successful. When you buy an IUL, you are a profit center for that company. That is it. Their obligation. This is the reason banking doesn't work for IUL, is because when you put your money in an IUL, you are not a business partner with that company. You are a profit center, meaning
You
you can
become
lose
an
everything.
investor. You become like
You,
put into a pool of investors almost. Is that
no,
what you're
no,
saying?
not even. No, I'm saying you're a profit center, meaning the company doesn't have any obligation to make you whole. The company, if you're there, the first when financial stresses happen on the company, their obligation as a company is to take care of the shareholders or the mutual policyholders. Period.
Mhm.
There are companies like Penn Mutual, Securian that offer both whole life, mutually held whole life policies and IUL, right? In the same company. I could buy a whole life policy, and if you know what hits the fan, I'm good because the company's going to take care of me, and I'm gonna follow their success as they navigate the financial storm. If I have an IUL, the company, the whole life company, the mutual company, if I have an IUL, I'm not participating in any of the benefits of the mutual status of that company. They're going to use me as an IUL policyholder to meet the guarantees they have to meet for the whole life policies because the whole life policyholders are effectively the owners of the company, and that's where the company has an obligation to, not the IUL
So you're
policyholders.
saying
That's
because
the
they
bridge.
haven't guaranteed me. So you're saying because the guarantees are really not within the contract. I'm almost like a bailout
For
for
sure.
the insurance company. Okay, so what about the
And it's happened.
lapsings? Because
It's
I
happened,
thought
by
at
the way.
first I thought you were gonna. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I thought that you were gonna talk about the well that happened in the early 70s and 80s with Universal Life. That it was
Yeah,
blowing up
80s
for
and
that same
90s,
reason.
80s and
And well,
90s,
I'm sorry,
80s.
80s, yeah, 80s and 90s with Universal Life,
Mhm.
right? So what I'm thinking though is that um with an IUL, I thought at first I thought you were going traveling down the road of how they lapse between
Well, they do.
the ages of 70 and 80 years old. You know,
Well,
if
that
I
too.
have a 401k, they might charge me for not taking the money out. But you're right. I will still have some money there unless the charges just wipe my account clean. But but realistically, nobody's gonna leave the money in. When it comes to IUL, people are actually looking to leave the money in because it's still a life insurance policy. And the older you get, the more you're gonna need life insurance, right? So it's like you want to leave the money in there, but between the ages of 70 and 80, this thing could get wiped out. I mean, it could
Even
lapse.
before that, man, even before that's why I created the IUL challenge, and we just came through the greatest bull run of all time. And for a product that promises upside potential due to market participation and through the indexing strategies that they participate in, we just came through the greatest bull run of all time. I'm willing to pay somebody $2,500 if they can show me one IUL 10 years ago or more that was illustrated that is outperformed the way it was illustrated. If you're supposed to be able to capture upside potential, well, at the greatest bull run of all time, if you weren't able to capture any of that upside potential and have the policy outperform the way it was illustrated, what are you going to do? What's it
I've
going to
seen
be like
some of
when the
your
market?
videos. I know hundreds of thousands of people have saw you because I've seen some of the numbers that your videos have done, even when they weren't on your page. Like I've saw you pop up on other people pages and stuff. So like the fact that nobody's been able to challenge you on that is scary.
Yeah,
Part two is the competitor. Well, I wouldn't call him a competitor. You're a nemesis, if you would. You would think that this would be an opportune time to say, "Oh man, this guy's full of crap. I got the proof right here, and I've helped a bunch of people do it. I'm going to prove him wrong once and for all. Debate
yeah,
him. I'll put him on a video, debate him, whatever. I think that you are a thorn. Your very existence is a
I am.
it's like
You wait. Oh, so when is this video going to come out? How long is it going to take you to turn this
um
video around?
in not even a week's time. So
All right,
it'll be out.
I'm gonna drop a bomb here. Ready? You're gonna like this.
Okay,
You ready?
let me get
You
it.
want to hear about? You want to hear about my new company?
What? Yeah. You started a new company. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
It's launching tomorrow.
What is
At
the
the time
name
we're
of it?
filming this video, so by the time it's called IUL.com.
What are you doing, man? You want people to. What's funny is when people go on there now they get the truth. So when they click on
I
there, they
I got
thinking they about to
control.
find out about how IUL is so great, and
Listen,
they're gonna get on there and
this
see the
is
complete
people.
opposite.
People don't know. Like this is my service to the business. Like I've tried to do my best with Life 180 to educate people about IUL and really give the truth to protect people. And so I figured, you know what? Why not just go get the number one digital real estate in the world and just own the domain IUL.com? And so, you know, we
What's
we ended up
crazy?
getting
That's crazy
IUL.com.
because
We're
you would
launching
you
this.
would think
We're
all
going to
these
educate.
guys out here, you would think all these people out here pushing this. Why in the world wouldn't they have already grabbed IUL.com?
Because it's not
Now,
cheap. Because it's not cheap.
oh, I trust me. I knew in the back of my mind, IUL.com.
Yeah.
Okay, I knew in
Three
the
letter
back of my
domains.
mind.
Yeah.
It's
Three letter domains, bro.
It's a lot, but I'm still thinking though. It just shows me it's funny to me because what you are so tactical. Like I said, you are literally your existence is a thorn. I like superhero type movies and stuff like that, and like especially like Batman, all his all his and even like Scooby Doo. Like I would have got away if it wasn't for you
Yeah.
nosy kids, right? And with Batman, every time he shows up, all his enemies are like, oh my god, there goes the bat.
Mhm,
It's like, man, come on,
mhm.
man, like dang. And so
Well,
with you is funny because like as long as you exist, as long as you're alive, you're gonna be. It's like you're the light inside the darkness, and it's gonna lead people away from the darkness in a way because you have taken a very purposeful approach to it. Where some people they're just picking at the IUL because they want to make a sale on whole life, or they want to convert people over to the way that they think, and so on and so forth. The difference is with you is that you see it from an ethical standpoint
hmm
and a moral and morals and values, right? Like
yep,
what you're doing to people is a disservice. You're not telling people, hey, this thing collapse on you anywhere between 60 to 70 to 80 years old. You just need to be looking to get off this roller coaster. What you're telling them is ride it out, and that's the danger of it. That's why I said, to me it reminds me of 401k. I guess because the way I think is, if I had an IUL and I was set in my mind to keep it, and I'm watching this right now, if you have an IUL and you don't want to dismantle it, I would just look to get the heck out of Dodge before I get too
hard though.
old.
That's hard though. You know why? Because IULs put such high surrender charges inside of the policy that like if you say, like, I'll give you an example. I have a guy who's been putting $120,000 a year into a premium. He's 5 years in, put 600,000 into his premium. He's only got $430,000 in surrender value. So he can't just walk away without walking away from $160,000. So now his choice is to ride it out and let the surrender charges like slowly go down. But the problem is, in doing that, he's taken on risks that the other fees are going to go up, and it's going to be. I'd be willing to pretty much bet my license that he will never get back to where he wants to be.
Yeah, it's like trying to figure out when is the best time to jump off a train,
Mm-hmm.
a moving train. At that, the
Mm-hmm.
with him, he has to look at the downside. With him is the
Tough.
opportunity cost of leaving it in there when you could have
Yeah.
took it, put it inside of a guaranteed place, and have liquidity. And then look at the surrender values too, like the surrender charge. With the surrender charge, had he had a whole life policy, even if he wanted to end it, he could have walked away with all
Bro,
the cash. Like he could have walked
man,
away.
I could guarantee he'd have more cash. Guarantee he'd have more cash than his premium in a whole life policy. With even after all the fees and charges, net of everything, right? And so, like, these are the things people just, like I always say, life doesn't exist on a spreadsheet. Illustrations don't mean anything. That's what people need to understand. Illustrations don't matter. All that matters is, you know, how you use the policy. And so you're not trying to use the policy to get rich. My biggest problem with IUL is it's sold as this one size fits all solution, right?
It does seem like it solves your financial problems.
Yeah,
Like
that's what they try to sell. Like,
not like your banking problem, but like this is the end all be all. You get you one of these bad boys, and you went from an
yeah,
average Joe to to you're in the 1%. You get you one of these bad boys right here.
I saw
Um,
this. I saw this idiot money mythbuster online the other day doing this video on this National Life Group product, and he's like, "Look at this. Why would you put $1 million a year into a policy, and for 5 years?" And he showed like using it for real estate and whatever. He showed $5 million going in, and then he showed like $70 million of income coming out of it. And I'm like,
in
if
cash
anybody
value.
$70 million of income coming out, like, it showed like a dude that was like 30 years old putting 5 million in for 5 years and then letting it grow and then taking income out from 65 to whatever. And it was like he literally showed $5 million of premium actually paid and then 70 something million of
Only
income off of
$25 million though. How did you
it's
get from
insane.
25 to 70?
It's I'm just telling you, it's because of the illustrations illustrating positive arbitrage,
And
50
this is
basis
the
points.
IUL, right?
This is
This is the
IUL.
IUL.
This is IUL.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
what is going on?
No, no, no.
Okay,
So it's not even like
yeah.
it's like if you believe that, I'm going to tell you unicorns exist and that I've got a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that I want to pre-sell you, and I'll give you a good deal. You know, like if you believe that, I'm sorry, but there's an element of you get what you deserve. Like if you're not going to do your research, like you know,
It makes me kind of bamboozled because I have people that I'll get on the phone with and they're skeptical of whole life. But there's people out here that's not skeptical about a get rich quick scheme. Like that's to me, that's what it is. That what you just described is a get rich
yes,
quick scheme. I know this
yeah.
guy's putting in millions of dollars, but let's be realistic. 5 times 5 is 25. 25 million turned into $70 million
No, no,
in
no,
the
no. That's
course of
not what I
5.
was saying. No, it's worse, bro. It's worse. He was putting in 1 million a year for 5 years, so a total of 5 million.
That's 5. Okay,
From
so that's
from
5 million. That's
so
worse.
he was from 30 to 35 years old. He put 5 million total in total, and then from 35 to 65, they just let the policy grow, and then 65 to death, taking out income of like $4 million a year almost. It was like 3.8 million a year of income that like it's so dumb. It's like not even. It's not even. It's.
You would have to
But
have your
this is the stuff.
policy compounding at around at minimum 10% of compounding. That's the thing that got me. And I questioned good old CR on it. Um, eh, Mr. Ray, I said, you guys make it seem like the interest is compound. The interest that you make in the market is compounded guaranteed with the policy. That's not what's actually happening. Now, if that was happening, then I would wholeheartedly agree that IUL is much better, and
Dude, I.
it greatly outperforms whole life insurance. But I was like, the misconception and where it's kind of misleading for people is that you guys don't tell them that the guaranteed interest rate is completely separate from market gains that you would even see if the market did go up. That's something that affects your cash value, and that's something completely separate from the compound interest that you would earn on premium. They don't make that distinction. And the
Right.
number that you just pointed out, I can tell you how he got that number. He took and said, okay, $5 million compounded at X percentage plus all this percentage that is hypothetically being gained
Mm-hmm.
inside the market. If I
Oh,
take the 10% plus the 2% here, that's 12%, and I get me a compounded calculator or whatever, and it's compounding 12% for 5 years times $5 million. Like maybe that's how he got his 70, but
and
that's not
no,
how
and
it works.
it's beyond that. It's when they take income, when they borrow against it at the $3.8 million a year he was showing. It's showing borrowing at 5% and earning 5.5% every single year on that income, and it's just not going to happen that way, right? And so,
With
it's
no
just
pay, with no paybacks.
no paybacks. It's just compounding every year, never managing. It's insane. It's literally complete insanity.
Your
Is what it is.
dividend would have to be extraordinary. I mean, the dividend they have to be giving you on that bad boy
There is
would
no
have to.
dividend. It's the index. It's the index. That's the point.
They
Don't
sacrifice the
forget with an
dividend.
IUL, what you do, like
You
remember, all right.
sacrifice the dividends for
I'm
the
gonna, I'm
upside potential. Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna be running out of time here. But remember, with the IUL, here's the deal: when you put your money in an IUL, life insurance companies do one thing better than any other financial institution in the world. They get you the best rate of return possible with the least amount of risk possible. It's like a bond alternative with a lower standard deviation. That's the simplest way to think of the cash value and like the value of the rate of return inside of the policy. That's the simplest way to think about it. Keep it really, really straightforward. That is what a life insurance company does better than any other financial institution in the world. They've been doing it for 180 years. Okay, that's first. When you do, when you choose to do an IUL over a whole life, you basically strip the life insurance company from everything they do well, and you say, "Hey, take this thing that you do well, and instead of using it to create financial stability for me, go speculate with it in options." That's what they're doing when they try to make indexing
So
sound
even if
so
you have a
sexy.
mutual company
Yeah,
and they give you dividends on your IUL,
there are no dividends. No, no, no. There's
even if you have a
dividends in an
mutual company,
IUL,
no
even with a mutual
dividends.
company. No, that's what I'm saying. There's no
Ooh. They
take
really
dividends in an
misleading
IUL
people.
ever.
They're
Yeah,
really misleading people.
yeah, yeah, man.
Mm.
Like, so you need to. We could do a whole video just on that. It's
Oh,
crazy.
that's we need to, yeah, we need to break down the misconceptions of IU. We need to create a video of the misconceptions of IUL and just go step for step on
I'm in.
how people are being misled because
Do it.
I thought from what he told me, he was like, "Oh yeah, well that's because they do these IULs. They don't do them with mutual companies. You do it with a mutual company, you know, mutual companies pay dividends." And I'm like,
No,
so
no.
even when he said that, I was like,
That's
well,
what I
well
was
think
saying
about the
earlier, though.
fees. Don't the fees eat whatever you would have got in the dividend
No,
anyways?
no. That's the thing. What I was saying earlier, though, is like when you have an IUL with a mutual company, your profit center is IUL. They're gonna take your policy and use it to guarantee the dividends in the whole life policy. You don't participate in the dividends.
That's why you can't have a chance to get any because you are the investment pool. Oh
Hmm.
man, that's good stuff, man. Chris, I appreciate you getting on. I know you got a hard stop.
Yeah,
Guys, thanks for tuning in. If you're watching this, leave a like, comment, let us know some things we can talk about inside future videos. And you'll see the links for Chris Life 180. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate
yeah,
it.
man.
Until next
Have
time,
fun.
better investments equals a better future, and we'll see you guys in the next one.